You are Saul. Before you were Paul, before you became a name repeated by people who have never seen you, you were a sharp, trained, and convinced man. You walk with certainty in your chest, like someone carrying a hidden blade, not to attack for pleasure, but to correct the world. You grew up breathing law. You learned to love rule, tradition, purity. You learned that a people only survives if it doesn't create a crack in its own identity. And, in your mind, that new sect, followers of a crucified man, is exactly that. A crack. Contamination. A fire starting in the wrong corner. You are not a thief. You are not a mercenary. You are not just any brute. You're worse. You believe you're right. And when a man believes he is right, he can do anything without feeling guilt, because guilt requires doubt. And you have no doubt. You observe the city as one observes a sick body. People whisper about the way. They speak of healings, of meetings in homes, of a kingdom that respects no hierarchy. They speak of a Messiah who died and yet lives. To you, this is not beautiful faith. It is a threat. You see what this can turn into: crowds, confusion, an angry Rome, repression, blood, and in the midst of the chaos, your people paying the price. So you choose to act before the fire grows. You become a hunter, not an animal hunter, a hunter of people. People you call heretics, deviants, dangerous. And that makes everything easier, because when you change someone's name, you change the weight of the violence. They are not people. They are a problem. You start chasing people like you're cleaning. You knock on doors. You interrogate them. You threaten them. You arrest them. You force some to deny with their mouths what they believe in their hearts. And when fear appears in their eyes, you interpret it as victory. You confuse fear with proof. Sometimes someone resists. Someone chooses to suffer rather than give in. And that irritates you more than any rebellion, because it confronts you with something your logic can't swallow, a courage that doesn't depend on a sword. You see a man die for that faith. You see stones flying, you see the blood, and you don't back down. You consent. Because in your mind, that's necessary. It's a vaccine. It's about restraint. It's much bigger. You learn the worst skill of all, turning brutality into duty. And the more you do, the more you feel you're climbing the invisible hierarchy of the zealous. You gain respect. You gain trust. You gain access. You become the kind of man who gets permission to do more. You don't realize it, but you've already signed the most dangerous contract. The contract of blind conviction. You are Saul, and from your point of view, the story needs a villain. And you're willing to be the hero. The news comes across as an insult. The cult isn't dying. It's spreading. Jerusalem is not enough. Your street corner is not enough. It is reaching other cities, other homes, other synagogues, like smoke escaping under the door. And you feel that as a personal affront. You go to the leaders, ask for permission, ask for a stamp of approval, ask for a letter. You want official authority to remove those people from wherever they are. You want to turn your conviction into a mandate. And they give it to you, a piece of paper, a stamp, a go. That's what gives you the most dangerous power. The feeling that the heavens are signing off on your pursuit. You hold the letter as if it were a sword, as if it were a sentence, as if it were an invisible hand saying, you are the chosen one to protect the faith. And with that document in hand, you officially become what you already were inside, a hunter with a justification. Damascus appears on your horizon as a destination, a vibrant city, a hub of commerce, a crossroads of people, and you think, not there either. You organize the group, prepare the trip, calculate the route. You're not going alone. Supportive men, people who believe in you, people who enjoy the feeling of power under the guise of purity. In your mind, the mission is clear. Locate, arrest, bring back. Set an example, cut the route. You rehearse speeches. You teach rules. You repeat, no weakness, no compassion. This is for the good of the people. And you believe it. You never saw yourself as violent. You saw yourself as necessary. The problem with something being necessary is that it becomes an addiction. You start to like the sound of doors opening out of fear, the way people fall silent when you arrive, out of respect that seems like devotion. You confuse authority with holiness, and without realizing it, you begin to hunt not only heresy, but the feeling of being the right man doing the right thing. The road to Damascus is long, the sun is scorching, the dust clings, the sandals squeak, and you carry the letter to your chest as if it were armor. You don't know it yet, but you're carrying a ticket to the collapse of your own identity. You are Saul, and you think you're going to arrive in Damascus like fire. But the heavens are already preparing water, not to relieve you, but to break you. The road doesn't seem sacred. It seems ordinary, dry ground, hard sky, hot wind. The kind of path that has seen thousands of footsteps and doesn't care about any of them. You walk at the pace of someone accustomed to winning. You talk to the men, review the plan, point out distant mountains. Your heart feels strong because the mission is clear. And then, without warning, the air changes. Not with wind, with presence. It's as if reality suddenly becomes denser for a second, as if the world suddenly slams on the brakes. You raise your eyes, and the light hits you. This is no ordinary sunlight. It's light that seems to emanate from within things, too strong, too clean, too impossible. It doesn't illuminate the path, it invades you. Your body reacts before your mind. You fall. And for you, falling isn't just losing your balance, it's losing your position. It's losing control. It's becoming small within your own body. You hear a voice. Not as a distant sound, but as a truth deep within your bones. The voice calls you by name, and that terrifies you, because your name is where you hide to become someone. Saul. When the voice says your name, you understand that it's not a question. It's an intimate accusation. The voice speaks of your persecution, your zeal, your violence disguised as faith. And amidst the shock, you try to react the way you always have, with arguments. Who are you? And the answer comes like a blade that cuts your story in half. You understand that your war was aimed at the wrong target, that your protection was wounded, that your conviction was blindness. And the moment you try to grab onto something, anything, the light vanishes as suddenly as it came, and you're left on the ground, breathing dust, trembling as if you've witnessed the end of the world. But the end of the world, you realize, was only the end of your world. You get up, and you don't see. You blink, strain your eyes, try to adjust. Nothing. The light turned to darkness. And that's the cruelest irony. The man who thought he could see the truth can't even see the road. The men around you panic. They call out to you, try to lift you up, ask you what happened, and you, who always had answers, now only have silence. You hold on to someone's arm to walk. You, the hunter, now guided like a child. And every step in the dark is a blow to your pride. You are Saul. And the sky has just proven to you that hunting is easy. What's difficult is facing your own crosshairs. Blindness is not just physical, she is moral, because in the dark you can definitely hear what you previously silenced. You hear the sound of your own footsteps and think of the footsteps of those you pursued. You imagine people being dragged from their homes, hands tied, tears swallowed. You remember their faces, not as enemies, but as people, and it hurts you in a new way. Pain without excuse. You arrive in Damascus without seeing the city. You only smell, hear, feel the life. They put you in a house, leave you in a corner, and suddenly you, the man who was in charge, become dependent. The stamped letter? Now it's just paper in your pocket, heavy as shame. You try to eat. It won't go down. Try drinking it. It tastes strange. Try to sleep. Your mind won't let you. Because when you close your eyes, the light returns from within, and you understand a rule that no one taught you. There is light that doesn't illuminate, it only exposes. You revisit each act with your brain trying to find a way out. You look for a loophole to justify yourself. I obeyed. I protected. I did it for the people. But these phrases begin to sound empty. They don't warm you. They don't save you. They only repeat the mechanism that brought you here. For the first time, you realize the difference between faith and ego. Faith kneels without needing to crush anyone. Ego uses God as a mask, and the mask slips. You hear people talking in the house, whispers. The fear of your presence still exists because your name is still a threat, even blind. You feel the impact of what you were, and that's humiliating because now you have no way to fix it quickly. You have no way to control the situation. You have no way to solve it. You get stuck in what you've always avoided, waiting. And waiting for a man of conviction is a form of death. 3 days. 3 days in the dark. 3 days without eating, without looking at the horizon, without escaping one's own memory. You begin to speak to God not as a judge, but as a defendant, not out loud, inside, in a place where you can't lie. You don't know what else to ask for. You only know what you've lost. Certainty. And the loss of certainty is the beginning of change. You are Saul. And in the darkness you feel a terrifying thing being born. The possibility that you might need to become a different man to stay alive. On the third day, the silence feels differently. Because silence, when it lasts, becomes a mirror. You begin to understand that what motivated you for years wasn't just zeal. It was fear. Fear of losing your identity. Fear that the world would change and you would become insignificant. Fear that your life, without the law as a shield, would have no value. And fear, you realize, pushed you towards violence as if violence were proof of love for the sacred. Do you remember the voice? Do you remember your name being called? And you understand the complete humiliation. You persecuted people thinking you were defending God, and God stopped you on the road. You try to imagine what comes next. You have no plan, no route, no map, no vision. You only have one persistent question: what if I'm wrong? Is there time to go back? You hear footsteps in the house. A presence approaches. You're warned. Someone has come to see you. Your body stiffens reflexively, as if you were still in authority. But authority doesn't appear in the dark. In the dark, you're just a man. The voice from outside says a name. Ananias. You know the type. One of those followers. One of those you came to arrest. One of those who should fear you. You feel ashamed even before you speak. Because you realize the man you've been chasing might be the man who comes to help you. And that's the kind of irony that destroys pride. When Ananias enters, you don't see his face. But you sense his hesitation. He knows who you are. He knows what your name means in whispers. He knows how many families have heard Saul as a sentence. And yet, it doesn't come with a knife. He comes with his hand. He approaches slowly, like someone treading on cracked ground. And then he speaks, and his words hit you like ice water. He calls you brother, brother. You almost laugh at how absurd it is, because everything you did screams that you don't deserve that title. You were a hunter. You were a threat. You were terror. But there's someone over there calling you brother, and you understand for the first time the true power of what you pursued. It's not organization, it's grace. It's not weapons, it's forgiveness, offering space. You feel his hands on your head or on your face, and he prays, not as a performance, as a surrender. And something happens, not as a spectacle of magic, but as a cure for shame. Your vision returns in fragments, real light, contours, form, color. As if the world were slowly returning, respecting your weakness, you blink and see his face. Fear mixed with obedience, compassion mixed with courage. And you can't speak properly, because at that moment, what kills you isn't the memory of what you did. It proves that you can still be welcomed, even if you're not. You are Saul. And for the first time, you understand that the greatest miracle isn't the light in the sky. It's the hand of someone who should hate you choosing to lift you up. Regaining your sight doesn't give you back your old power. It gives you back the responsibility. Now you can see again, and that forces you to confront the world you helped to hurt. You look at your letter, and it seems ridiculous. You look at your companions and see confusion. Some watch you as if you've gone mad. Others expect you to return to being the tough leader. But you're not coming back, because you can no longer wear that persona without feeling like you're lying. Ananias gives you instructions, and they sound impossible. You need to unite with what you were trying to destroy. You need to be baptized. You need to publicly take a side. And taking sides has always been easy for you. You just never imagined that the other side would turn around. You hesitate, not out of lack of faith, but out of genuine fear. If you change, you lose everything. You're losing your prestige, lose your network, lose your place. You lose your security of being the right man. And yet you take the step, because now you know going back to being the same is worse than dying. When you enter that new community, you feel the eyes on you like knives. People recoil, people whisper, people hold children closer. And you understand, forgiveness can be offered, but trust is built over time. You accept this. And accepting it is yet another humiliation for a man who has always demanded it. You start talking about what happened, and each sentence feels like it's tearing your skin off. You say out loud that you were wrong. You admit that you pursued him. You confess that you fell, and your whole body begs you to hide it. But you don't hide it. Because now your life is different. It's no longer about seeming strong. It's about being true to yourself. You discover that the faith you hated is not the absence of law. It's a more costly kind of obedience, obeying without control, loving without gain, serving without status. And then comes the detail that transforms you. You realize that it wasn't just you who changed sides. It was God who grabbed you by the collar and turned you around. That scares you, because it means your story now has an owner, and that owner isn't you. You cease to be the hunter in control and become a tool in the hands of something greater. And tools don't choose their agenda. Tools are used. You are Saul, and his biggest fear now is simple: not being accepted by either world, because the person you pursued might become suspicious of you. And those who supported you before will hate you. You're in the middle of the crossfire, and for the first time, you can't use violence to clear a path. You can only walk. Transformation gives you no rest. She gives you a mission. You start speaking in places where you used to go to arrest people. You open your mouth and realize that your voice still has power. Only now it doesn't point fingers. It points the way. And that irritates powerful people, because nothing offends a system more than a former agent of the system switching sides with conviction. You feel the change firsthand. Now the hunter is the hunted. Now the cautious one becomes the suspect. Now your name, which once opened doors, closes them. You learn the bitter taste of irony. You know exactly how the chase works. Because you were the chase, and that memory keeps you alive. It makes you wary, change course, avoid traps. It makes you see danger before it arrives. But it also hurts you, because every time you protect yourself, you remember who you were when you made others need to protect themselves. You start traveling, talking in different cities, meeting people you would never have touched before. Simple people, broken people, people who don't have religious status but are hungry for hope. And you understand why that message spread, because it offers dignity where the world offers shame. You become a preacher. And preaching for you isn't just about speaking beautifully. It's about paying the price. It's about being persecuted. It's about being misunderstood. It's about hearing rumors about you. It's about seeing people you love suffer for being near you. You discover that the loan has interest. Not interest on money, interest on pain. In some places, they kick you out. In others, they try to beat you. In others, they try to kill you. And you, who thought you had escaped the violence, realize that the violence has only changed the dress. But now you can't return the favor. You learn another weapon: persistence. You write, you teach, you shape people, you build communities. You try to unite people who can't stand each other, Jews and Gentiles, rich and poor, strong and weak. You become a bridge, and bridges always take hits from both sides. And in the middle of the road, you start using another name. Paul, short name, practical name. A name that seems less threatening, a name that's better suited for travel, a name that seems to say, the old man is a thing of the past. But you know, the old man doesn't disappear. He follows you like a shadow. It appears when you get angry, when you want to be in control, when you want to win an argument. And every time that shadow appears, you remember the light on the road. You are Paul. And your job now is to spend your whole life proving in every small choice that you haven't reverted to being Saul. The call is charged in installments. First comes rejection, then comes the pain. Then comes the routine of risk. You get beaten, you get arrested, you go hungry, you sleep poorly, you travel on dangerous roads, you face the sea, you face the cold, you face people who hate you for different reasons. Some because you abandoned the law, others because you didn't abandon it enough. You learn the weight of carrying communities on your shoulders. People fighting, people falling, people getting discouraged, people mixing faith with ego, the same ego you know all too well. You try to correct without becoming a tyrant. You try to lead without becoming the owner. You try to teach without humiliating. And that's harder than any persecution, because now the enemy lives within. At some point you are stoned. You feel the impact of the stone, the hollow sound, the burning pain. You fall and think, this is it. And when you wake up, you are alive. Alive by a hair's breadth, alive by persistence, alive by a stubbornness that you now call grace. You pass by shipwrecks or near shipwrecks, by storms at sea that remind you that nature also teaches a lesson. It shows you that control is an illusion. You see strong men cry on the boat. You see sailors pray to any god available. You feel the water trying to swallow you, and you understand life is too fragile to be wasted on hatred. And yet, you continue. Because now you don't live for your reputation. You live for your mission. You write letters as if they were ropes thrown to distant communities. You choose words like one chooses medicine, a little confrontation, a little consolation, a little harsh truth, a little hope. And each letter is also a disguised confession. You are trying to do to others what happened to you, to transform persecutor into brother. You are Paul. And the bill for the call is heavy, but it keeps you awake, because you know what happens when you sleep in blind conviction. At some point, the empire closes its hand. You're under arrest, again. But this time the scenario is bigger. Roman guards, formal charges, real jail, currents. The sound of metal on your wrist reminds you of an old irony. You once put chains on others. Now you feel in your bones what it means to depend on someone to go to the bathroom, to get a drink of water, to breathe safely. You could rebel. You could curse. You could say that God has abandoned you. But the experience of the road has already taught you. The place of your imprisonment is not the end of your voice. So you do what you always do when the world corners you. You speak. You write. You turn prison into a classroom. You talk to the guards. Some ignore you. Some provoke you. Some watch you in silence. And you realize that the empire, even armed, doesn't have what you have. Purpose. You become a stranger to them. A prisoner who doesn't beg, who doesn't buy, who doesn't threaten, a man who accepts suffering without losing his humanity. This is both irritating and attractive at the same time. You face the audience, the judge, the authority. You use your citizenship when you need to, not out of pride, but to save time and find a way. You learn to use the system without becoming its servant. And that's a rare skill, moving within the empire without belonging to the empire. You hear rumors that everything you've done is becoming a network, that communities are growing, that letters are circulating, that your name is appearing in places you've never set foot in. And that's your greatest victory and your greatest fear, because every network attracts the attention of those in power. You know how power reacts when it feels threatened. It tries to erase. And you prepare yourself for the final price. You are Paul. And the judgment that awaits you will not only be about crime, it will be about narrative. The empire trying to prove that your faith is nothing but disorder. But you have already learned the difference between order and truth. The cruelest part of your story is that it never lets you forget the beginning. Even old, even tired, even scarred by the road, you still return to that light, because that's where you died without dying. You think of your former self as one might think of a dangerous relative. It still lives within you in the form of an impulse, the impulse to win, to control, to be right. You learn to guard this impulse like one guards a fire inside the house. You understand that your conversion wasn't a one-time event. It was a daily process. Each day you choose not to hunt. And choosing day after day is harder than falling once. You remember the people you hurt, and you know you can't undo it. You can't go back in time and remove stones from thin air. You can't erase screams. You can't bring back nights of sleep. But there is one thing you can do, and it's the only thing left to you. Live in a way that doesn't waste light. You look at the world and realize that it remains largely the same. Empire, injustice, fear, ego. But now you see it with a different perspective, the perspective of someone who is both part of the problem and part of the cure. This either keeps you humble or destroys you. You choose humility because you already know destruction. As the final hour approaches, you don't imagine yourself as a hero. You imagine yourself as someone who was interrupted and grateful for it, because the interruption was mercy in disguise. You understand with quiet clarity that the light didn't choose you because you were good. It chose you because you were dangerous. And transforming danger into service is one of the rarest things that can happen to a man. If someone asks you what the secret was, you don't talk about strength. You talk about the moment when certainty crumbled and you discovered that God doesn't need your violence to be defended. You were a hunter. He became a messenger. And the last question that remains, for you and for those listening, is simple and brutal. What is your route to Damascus? What's your card to play? What is the hunt that you call duty? But which is fundamentally ego? Because a single light can bring you down once, but only the truth can lift you up forever.